There's a moment after 50 when something changes inside of you. You become quieter, more selective, and less tolerant of chaos and noise, and far more connected to your own truth. A lot of men misunderstand this shift. They think they're withdrawing, becoming less social. They think they're losing something. But the truth is, this is one of the strongest transformations a masculine man goes through. Today I want to explain why this happens, and why it's actually a sign of evolution. I'm Frank Schneider, my friends call me Fritz, and this is Daddybear America! So there's a moment in your 40s and 50s that you notice something in you has changed, and it might feel like maybe you don't care about things as much anymore, or you're not willing to put up with things. Maybe you're just getting old and stodgy and sort of curmudgeon-like. I've noticed this in myself, and it's actually not a bad thing. And so I wanted to do a video specifically on these sort of traits that seem to be exemplified as we get older, and specifically why it's indicative of a change that men go through as we age and become older, wiser, and more masculine as society starts to look up to us. Believe me, this is all connected. It's not like these things are occurring in a vacuum independent of each other. So that's what this video is going to be about. So there's a lot of reasons masculine men change in their 40s and 50s, and it has a lot to do with biology and psychology, basically, and just interacting with society on a daily basis. After this many years of dealing with life, you tend to boil down things to more simple forms so that you can deal with them without using a lot of energy, expelling a lot of energy, and also not causing a lot of internal turmoil. So that's one factor. Another factor is when we're younger, in our teens and 20s, our testosterone levels are very, very high. And I know a lot of you guys are thinking, well, I'm in my 60s or 70s, I'm still very, very horny, and it's different when you're in your 20s and teens. I think we can all admit that. Your testosterone technically is its highest it will ever be, and it is quite unstable. There are times when it's a lot less in your teens. It's actually technically quite hard to measure testosterone levels. If you've ever done it with your doctor, you know you have to go at a very specific time before you eat, and it has to be right early in the morning, and because testosterone varies so much throughout the day. It's very clear to most of us now, in your teens and 20s is when your testosterone is peaking. And so you'll have periods of the day where it's very high and periods of the day where it's lower. And this leads to a lot of emotional instability, which doesn't read as very masculine. It also creates a lot of scenarios for you to be overwhelmed, over exemplifying certain factors in your life, or under rating certain levels of importance. I mean, you can imagine a teen or a 20-year-old blowing something out of proportion that isn't necessarily, it doesn't need to be that important, as opposed to somebody who's in their 40s or 50s or 60s, where things are way more measured out, they're more stable and more balanced. And this is because, in part, not to mention all of your life experience, but your testosterone levels are much more stabilized in just how you work through your daily and weekly, monthly schedule. I mean, also, just a quick aside, it actually doesn't matter if you're having a release on a regular basis or not. That actually doesn't affect your testosterone levels. Like, say, for example, there's a lot of theories about no FAP, basically not masturbating, and that doesn't affect your testosterone levels the way that people think it does. So you're not really getting a benefit from the whole no FAP thing, other than like whatever it does, placebo effect in your mind. You think you have like more confidence or something. Hey, knock yourself out if you don't want to do that. So building up to this point in your 50s and 60s, I think you really also develop an internal clarity that wasn't there before. When you're younger, you're awash with all sorts of emotions and doubt and sort of questioning, at least this was me, questioning if you could do something better or different. You go through your daily events and you do the best you can, but there's just a lot of doubt. And now when I'm doing things, there's a lot more internal clarity. When I do them with purpose, and I do the best I can. And at the end of the day, I don't spend very much time doubting myself or thinking maybe I should have done something different. I'm pretty confirmed in my own performance and that I made the right decisions. And this is on a ongoing basis. And I believe for most men, this is a change that happens in your 40s and 50s. You start to feel a lot more internal clarity. As we're getting older, our emotional bandwidth tightens. This means your effective range for emotional sort of output is just a lot more narrow. You're not getting the highs and lows that you got in your teens and 20s. But you also just don't have a lot of tolerance for outputting huge amounts of emotion. So you might have less tolerance for going to parties and doing the party talk. How are you? What do you want? What are you up to these days? Oh, and how's your job? And oh, that's so nice. I'm so glad for you. And your kids are good, huh? Like, this is stuff that I think a lot of older guys just don't have a lot of patience for. This actually radiates to other people as, in combination with your just older affectation, it comes off as a sort of self-confident masculinity that you're not bothering with these mundane sort of stupid conversations. There's some people that are very good at it, and that's fine, but the majority of us, as we are getting older, are just not inclined to do as much of that. If you do find yourself investing in a conversation that deals with sort of just drab banter, it tends to take a lot more energy output from, say, me or potentially you. And at the end of it, it just takes a lot more time to recover from such an event. Going to a party and, saying stupid things to people about like their life and blah, just takes a lot more time to recover. While I have your attention, guys, if you wouldn't mind just clicking the like button down below, and if you haven't subscribed, click subscribe. It helps the channel, and then I can get new content out to you on a weekly basis. We're doing 2 videos a week on Tuesdays and Fridays. So join us. If you want to help the channel directly, click the join button, and there's more details down in the control center down there. There's also a difference between being lonely and being alone. I'm reminded of this quote from Robin Williams, rest in peace. Great actor, of course, Good Will Hunting, one of his best movies, handsome, classic, bearish father figure role. Great movie. Anyway, back to the point. He has a quote, butchering this completely, but basically, if you're with somebody that makes you feel alone, it's worse than actually being alone. And that is quite true. I mean, you can feel very lonely with somebody who is supposed to be your most significant person in your life. That reminds me of my ex. I mean, he was like a disaster, as I've told you guys. But beyond that, he had all of these walls up and also was quite destructive to the relationship, which left me feeling, while I had somebody in the room, extremely lonely. Meanwhile, now that I'm older and I'm in a solid relationship, I don't necessarily have to spend a lot of time with my husband, Bill. We do in the mornings and in the evenings every day. But when we are apart, I really appreciate that solitude. And nothing against him. I mean, we have a great time together. But being alone, whether I'm in the studio here or just out in the woods and walking amongst, the animals, nature, and experiencing like serenity, that is so peaceful and fulfilling, and in a way that probably wasn't in my 20s and 30s. Something that I really didn't appreciate is just really listening to my own thoughts in this really calming sort of way, mixing that with the blowing of the wind through the trees, or, there's no leaves on the trees currently because it's winter and snowing out. So, but even just, marching through the sort of crusty, crispy snow between your feet. It's so just really sort of meditative, and in a way that I just wouldn't be able to appreciate when I was in my 20s. That is the definition between being alone and being lonely. So you can be completely alone, but not be lonely. And meanwhile, you can be with somebody and be incredibly lonely. You'll probably find that you have a lot less want, need, or demand for heavy negotiation. A lot of guys don't have a lot of time for like serious conflicted relationships. And instead of going through the process, which, might involve like sort of a dramatic relationship or, friend with benefits, that's getting a little more heavy, or even like a full-blown partner or a marriage where you're constantly sort of trying to work out these details between each other, negotiate and compromise. You just don't have a lot of interest for that in your 50s and beyond. Hopefully that you don't need to do that as much. You find somebody that you can work with and sort of understand each other on a more silent, non-interactive basis, so that you don't have to constantly coordinate every sort of move and, emotional sort of intertwinement. As we get older, you just don't have a need to explain yourself anymore. Either people understand you or they don't. And the difference is, I think you just stop wanting to invest time in actions and people that don't actually matter that much. And specifically, even if the person does, it's almost, it's inconsequential, and it doesn't really matter if they understand or not. Which is different than in your 20s, when there's like a great importance on, being understood and making sure that, like you're being clear and that other people are understanding your thoughts and feelings and emotions. That just doesn't happen anymore as much in your 40s, 50s. Like even in a relationship, it's kind of like, I don't really need you to understand. I mean, at the end of the day, we're all just trying to get along. It's no secret, as you get older, you're going to prize depth over attention. And this is for a multitude of factors, but ultimately, you will find there's less people in your life, and those people are of more importance. And you just don't have time for people who were superficial. Maybe you really did enjoy them in your past, and just things have changed where you just don't feel as connected anymore. And it could just have been a very superficial friendship or relationship that just isn't needed anymore. So you're going to prize fewer relationships and rate them more importantly. And that's different than in your more youthful years, where more relationships equaled better. Along with this change, I think there's a lot more importance to substance rather than flashiness. Or I just remember having a lot of friends that were sort of louder and flashier people and doing, fun, spontaneous things. I just don't find that as entertaining anymore. And it's not that we're getting old and boring and that's just how you get old and die. It's actually you becoming a more masculine, confident man, that you don't need somebody flashy in front of you, entertaining, singing, and dancing the same way that you did when you were in your 20s. There's no doubt when we get older, there's a quiet masculine power that becomes way more evident in our very being. And that is us getting older, having more character, and slowing down a little bit, but also enjoying that quietness that we talked about earlier. There's a movie, The Minority Report. Oh, and right at the end, guys, spoiler alert, so skip ahead like 10 seconds if you don't want to know the ending. At the end, the people in question in the Minority Report movie, the movie sort of zooms out as the screen fades to black, and they're in a cabin in the woods just reading books by the fireplace, and it's quiet. And they're just in complete serenity. And it's just a scene that I could relate to it in my 20s. That's when I saw the movie. But even more so now, in approaching my 50s and eventually my 60s, that I really, really want that. I want my partner to have that, where we can just sit and be quiet. I think in my 20s, we want a relationship where there's no quiet parts. Everybody's going, either 100% of the time or you're like asleep. And there's a fear of awkward silence. And I don't have that fear anymore. I am perfectly fine with an awkward silence because it isn't awkward. I can just let the end of the sentence be the end of the conversation with somebody. And that's okay. And that's different than me in my youth. So these changes that we're talking about signal authority to younger members, whether it's, women or younger men, potentially romantic opportunities, will see these various behaviors that we exhibit and think, wow, that is really sexy. I'm not finding those traits, those characteristics in partners my age. I want an older man that has these characteristics. They signal authority, but they also signal safety. And youthful partners are oftentimes seeking out safe situations. And it isn't necessarily that they're trauma bonding and that they have some damage and so they're seeking safety. We're all seeking safety. And it's the older men who have become more comfortable providing that safety and also indicating to people that this is a safe place. So also, along with just being older and more experienced in life, you're also going to feel a more outsider's perspective to a lot of situations, and you'll feel more comfortable being in that position. This also gives you an advantage. Excuse me. This also gives you an advantage because outsiders have a clarity that insiders in group don't. You simply, because you are on the outside looking into situations, you see things that people who are within the situation wouldn't see. You might get this effect if somebody tells you a problem that they're having, and you can give them very clear advice on what to do or a course of action, and it seems obvious to you, but it never occurred to them because they're within the situation and they can't seem to get through the fog of their own sort of, their mental blocks. And for an outsider, it's quite simple and easy to clear up a lot of these problems that somebody might be having. It's really important. I mean, you really can't help but to accept your new identity as you are moving through these phases of your life, and you notice that, okay, things are very different for me. I mean, you could fight it, and it could become quite difficult if you're saying, why am I not this youthful version of myself anymore? I want to be that. And you find that you simply can't go back. You can't be the youthful version of yourself anymore. So it's really important to accept yourself as you are, and that to know that there's a lot of benefits to being this older version of yourself, and that people see these effects to you, the way that you act, the way that you hold yourself. And it actually comes off as, as we talked about, it comes off as indications of safety, which younger potential partners really, really like. And it's also a sign of authority, that you'll find in a room, people just naturally start looking to you for answers because they're younger and they don't have the life experience that you have. Needless to say, all of this is sort of the more advanced stages of outward masculinity. I mean, like, when you're in a situation and people are looking to you for as an authority figure, or they're looking to you for safety, that's all code for masculinity. That's where we're at. We're getting older, we're getting more masculine, hopefully, and with that along comes the indications of safety and authority. This is all a really nice thing that's happening, and it's kind of confidence inspiring when you have younger people just naturally gravitating to you in a way that they didn't before. And potentially for romantic opportunities that you didn't have before. Now something is different about you in the way you carry yourself, and younger people are starting to notice. It's pretty great getting older, guys. I can't understate it. Overstate it, in fact. I feel really good in a way that I didn't used to feel. And I look forward to my interactions with people my age, people older than me, but also people younger than me. And there's a new sort of power about me in the air that I feel sort of reflecting off of people I interact with in a really great and positive way. I think it really helps people that I deal with, and it makes me feel good too. So hopefully you share in some of these similarities. Comment down below if you think I'm missing something. Tell me if you like the direction that we're going in with these videos. Also, if you have anything to add that I left out, that also is helpful. It could help somebody else in their sort of mission and process path towards finding masculinity. Do hit the subscribe and the like button while you're down there commenting. And if you want to help the channel directly financially, click the join button. It is about the price of a cup of coffee, and that goes directly to the channel to help me write new scripts on a weekly basis, which I'm really enjoying doing for you guys. So with that, I will close out the video, and I will see you in the next one. Peace.